board members.
There you go. And do a background check.
Thanks for your comments. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I have to go. Thank you for your comment.
I'm confused.
Well, we are too. Anyway, I support you guys though.
I
Thank
was
you.
going to go to Risa first.
Oh,
Risa, you had your own.
I just had a question for Steve. It's just out of curiosity. Do we have a specific standard that you follow or
I
want?
have a form, I have a file in there, I can bring them all out from everybody, but the county sends me a form, and one of my duties is I go out and evaluate somebody's driveway before a certificate of occupancy is issued. And it's either me or a certified engineer. And it's gotta be 12 foot all weather, less than 18 degrees. And it goes on and on. There has to be a 30 foot, or 35 foot radius or a 60 foot T turnaround at the end.
Well, what I was getting at was, could you present this in a fairly easy to follow format and give it to Jerry
Yeah.
so that it would be on the
It would be
webpage?
online. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And I know, Bob, we've talked to more of DFPA and the Forest Services. They have this covenant, a whole bunch of group, and they're actually much more severe, especially like the gentleman was saying, when you get 4 or 5 more people on a road, it starts getting bigger. And
Yeah.
wider.
Well,
Taller.
Fisher Road is a perfect example. If you've ever talked to Doug too about Fisher Road, limited access, very narrow, no shoulders.
We're a tad off task
Yeah,
here,
we
so.
I just wanted him to get that to Jerry if he could. And
Well, I'd like to make one clarification before we go much farther, though, is that the equality situation, the philosophical situation, has nothing to do with the width of the driveway. It has to do with the fact that the expectation of the constituency, the taxpayer out there, has to be met. And if this taxpayer is paying taxes and this taxpayer is paying taxes, there should be no differentiation in what they expect and what they receive.
We've discussed some ways of proceeding that way too, more equally,
Good.
and I understand that.
So-
That's
so
what
I-
we're doing in the future.
That's why I suggested having a clause in your mission statement that states that. Okay, Bruce was way back. Oh, you want to let Yvonne go first?
Sure.
Okay.
A mission statement is all-inclusive, actually. I mean, you really don't have to define that everyone's going to be equal, because that is his mission statement, what he's going to provide, you know, and what the mission of the fire department is, and it's to provide for everyone, really. So
But-
having to state that.
That's true, but it hasn't been in the past, and there was a mission statement. We are trying to specifically state what this means. And just by having a mission statement, you're right, it insinuates that that's for everybody. Well, I, for one, I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I wanted to say that it's equal. I wanted to say that because then we have to strive to make sure that it's equal. We don't have to strive to meet the mission statement. We have to strive to meet that clause in the mission statement that says we are going to try and provide the same emergency medical response to this person as we do to this person, period. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And we just try. And we do the best we
No matter
can.
how rich they are.
That's right. That too. Does that answer your, Yvonne?
Yeah, I just have, I've never seen mission statements, you know, really be divided up like that. But that's your board, that's your wish. and-
Divided up like what? I got
Well,
my
I
wish,
mean,
is that right?
no, a mission statement is a mission statement. It is for all. It is the mission statement of the fire department, and it doesn't need to be where you're saying, I mean, you can, if that's what you want, you can. It's just that if it's difficult for him to come up with that, it really is all-inclusive. Your mission statement applies to the entire community, or the entire city, or the entire county. You know, that's the point of a mission statement.
That's right.
So,
That's exactly right.
I'm just,
I can put it right into your.
Bruce?
but what you're really, I think by doing that, we went through this at North Bay, and basically are you addressing response time? Is that,
This is not as specific. There's no way you
I
can
mean-
sit here and say your response time to Gary Kahn next door
Yeah.
has to be the one you use as your measuring point.
yeah,
That isn't what it is. It's a philosophical issue,
Well-
and you do as best you can.
What I'm saying is, are you thinking that you need some satellite stations?
No,
Okay.
not at all. It's the simplicity of it is that if, I'll give you a good example. John Barr lives right behind me on top of a hill. Okay, he's got a decent road goes all the way up to his house. There is no way any one of those pieces of equipment in that back room can make it up to that house. Period. They need to. If that piece of equipment can make it to Gary Kahn's house, it needs to make it up to John Barr's house.
This is what
That
I'm
might
looking
make it an hour from now, where it goes next door in 10 minutes. But that person that pays taxes, that lives up on that hill, that has a road that's as wide as the county road is wide, has a right, in my opinion, to expect services to his place relatively the same as somebody that lives down on the flat off of a main county road. That's the philosophy I'm
So
talking about.
I just was wondering which direction you were going with.
Thank you, that was where I wanted to know what the bottom of this was. You finally said it, thank you. It said access, and we've talked about this before, about units, and I'm already, when we replace units, we're gonna address that. So thank you, that's what I wanted to hear.
We can't take money from people as taxpayers and then not be able to provide them with the service. I don't think. That's just me.
I was going to revert back to Yvonne. There are two mission statements in these bylaws. One is for the board and one that Steve wrote for the department, because we wanted to differentiate between what we're responsible for and what he's responsible for.
Right.
And we've read these to you, I think, or maybe.
No, I understand this
Okay,
too.
okay, and that's,
I'm just thinking in the lines of fire department, and there's not one person in there that does not feel everybody in this community is equal in getting the service. So to have to state that everyone, I mean, I guess you could plain and simply do it by saying the entire community will, the mission statement is to provide for the entire community instead of, that's pretty.
But
simple right
that's
there.
believed now. And I just cited you an example where they can't get to that house.
Right. Well, what are you supposed to do if they can't get to the house?
Whose fault is it they can't get to the house?
Right, it's not the fire department's fault.
The guy that built the road, it's nothing.
You know, I mean,
Well, if I can
they
drive,
do.
if I can drive a 1-ton truck there with a 5-horse trailer behind me, we should be able to get some form of a fire apparatus up to that house.
Well, I can give you
I'll
a
go up
good
and check
example of a bridge that was not maintained, and one of our fire trucks fell through it.
I know where that
That
is.
was not, that right there, they did not get to their scene. They had to
Right.
use four-wheelers to get.
But it wasn't because of the
So, I mean, they can
And
only do what they can do in providing to the entire community.
This entire conversation that we're having right now is the next set of weekly meetings. Is when we get to the agenda for the meeting, as soon as we have the bylaws done,
Is that J?
J is a taxpayer property survey. Can we physically service each property equitably? That'll be the next weekly meeting task. Combined with that is going to be an equipment analysis that the chief does to analyze whether the pieces of equipment out here have direct applicability to the district needs.
Okay.
Okay? This is great conversation, but this isn't, we're trying to get this bylaw thing done. And I didn't realize this would bring up such an interesting avenue of attack. But the concept of every taxpayer being treated equally has got to be emphasized. And so that's why I made the comment to Steve that there has to be an equitable issue I'm suggesting in the mission statement of the fire department itself, just as we have in the board itself.
I agree with that also. I agree that I think the taxpayers have a responsibility to maintain the property.
Absolutely.
But
Especially bridges.
we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, and then that's what we're going to do, is we're going to put all that together.
I have one question there for Steve. You said that you are responsible for going out checking driveways and things. What if the driveway's been there for umpteen years are they grandfathered in, or are they gonna have to
I don't know
upgrade?
the answer to that. And if I have a problem with it, like I don't have an inclinometer or whatever, I don't know what 18% is. I can tell you, my driveway, the top of my driveway is probably more than 18%, one side of it is. So, I'm gonna throw it back to the county, they can get themselves a licensed engineer. I'm not qualified to make that decision.
Well, what if it costs more to fix the driveway than the property's worth?
Yeah, what if it does? I don't know.
You know, what?
It's not my fault.
What does the homeowner at that point do?
It's not me, it's the
Steve's not
taxpayer's
doing
fault.
it.
No, I understand,
It's not our taxpayers' fault either, I don't think.
but there will be issues like that.
Well, but the point is Steve's not responsible for any of this. If we have a conflict and we think something is not right, then you have to go to the source, and in this case, it would be going back to the county over their standards. That all Steve's trying to do is he's being the eyes to enforce that, and he's only enforcing what they're asking for. If we don't agree with it as a board or as a district or as just a taxpayer, you go down there and talk to the county commissioners. I mean,
Well, that was my next lead-in question. Who's the chain of command here? Who is the ultimate authority up here? Is it Doug 2? Is it
it's the county.
DFPA? Is it Lookingglass Fire Department? Just who is
It'd
it?
be,
I
that
don't-
kind of thing, the county planner.
Yeah.
That's what I was, that's the answer I was looking for.
Even the DFPA stuff that they're trying to bring through right now is being coordinated through the county. The county is still the final. Buck stops here. Yeah,
Well, yes, I was going to say, is there going to be a standard set so that, because earlier you said DFPA has something, ODOT has something, we have something, county has something. I think there has to be a standard sooner or later. Have you heard anything about that?
There's been a amendment to the county's one, which is the one they give us. Been going on for about 2 years now, but it's still not finalized. So all I have is a piece of paper they send out to me, which is the current one. And I can make a bunch of copies of it.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
I've got a gauge.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Okay. Quite a tangent there. Good of the order. The only thing we had tossed in here, Jerry, was your situation with the YouTube account. You said you wanted to talk about that a little bit?
Right. If we want to be able to post very long videos, like longer than 15 minutes, which meetings typically are, we need to have a YouTube account in good standing, and then we're able to do that. Bruce had offered his personal account for doing that, and in discussing it with Risa, we were thinking for liability issues and other issues, legal issues, whatever, it probably should have a Lookingglass Rural Fire District account.
That sounds better. Is there a dollar figure that goes with this?
As far as I know, there's no cost for it.
I couldn't find
You couldn't
anything.
find anything either.
No.
Yeah.
What do we have to do to get one?
Have a Gmail address.
That's it?
And somebody needs to be the person of responsibility. I would think perhaps Risa's the communications person on the board
Someone
should
else
be
has a
the one.
Gmail address.
It wouldn't be
anyone can have one.
no, it wouldn't be a problem to set up a Gmail address specifically for LRFD.
Well, do we want to do this, folks?
You can do an LRFD at Gmail if it's not already being used.
Well, I think, because we've talked about this, that's, like I said, I don't want Bruce to have to be liable for anything that might come up on a video that somebody gets offended by or angry about, or the pictures on there, blah, 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 even though it's a public forum, you know, that I really agree with Jerry, that we need to have just a Lookingglass Fire District, you know. So, yeah, we should just get a Gmail address and then get a YouTube site and put the videos on that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Would anybody like to make a motion to that